Welcome back to the weekend wrap. No production, just my thoughts. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment as well. This isn't going to be a very long one because it wasn't that eventful of a weekend, to be totally honest. So yeah, moving straight into, I guess, Friday night. There was a Queensberry card on at York Hall. Now, I wasn't even aware that this card was happening until I started seeing some of it on Twitter, literally when I'd finished work. Had I have known, I may have even gone down. But that being said, I haven't watched the entire show, but my Skybox does record Queensberry and Boxer cards. So it is down there. I've seen bits and pieces. I haven't watched the entire thing. I may not, depending on sort of my time. I don't have as much time in the house as I used to, but that's another story. But I saw the Alois Jr. fight in its full capacity. I thought that was a really good performance from him. I think he faced a guy called Borna Shurshek, something like that. But yeah, that was pretty cool, pretty decent. I didn't watch the entire Carol Talma or the Sam Noakes fights, but pretty much I saw how they ended up. Both, looked fairly decent, so cool. Willie Hutchinson beat Moderna, the guy that knocked out Carol Talma in his last fight, and he went over to Dan Aziz and called out Dan and said, yo, let's have it next. And I think he was calling for a British title shot. So if that's the case, that means Dan hasn't given up the belt just yet, which is a good thing. Hutchinson will be a decent scalp. I mean, he's not a Lyndon Arthur or a Boatsi or anything like that, but he's making his name. And if Dan said, yep, I'll come over here 100%, you got my word, we can do it. Now, if that is the case, that would be a good one for Dan, because then he can, get that victory and win that British belt outright, which is what I think he deserves, and I do want him to do that. So if he can make that fight happen, happy days. I'm not sure. I think the main event was actually Ellis Zorro versus Hosea Burton. I haven't checked the order 100% to know if that's the case, but shout outs to Ellis Zorro, a fellow Blue Borough resident, or at least a Blue Borough, what could we call him? I think he lives in Bromley at the moment, which is just up the road, to be fair. It's not that far away, but he's a Blue Borough original, put it that way. So shout out to him. Devastating KO in the 7th round of the fight. I think there was a point in time where he wasn't having it all his own way, shall we say. I think round sort of 4, 5 and 6. Again, I haven't been able to watch the entire fight, but I've seen the highlights, I've seen the knockout. A big brawl took place in the crowd, which you never really like to see, and they seem to happen more at Queensberry shows than any other show that I go to. I've never been to one where there wasn't something that's kicked off, even if it wasn't like a full all-out brawl, but there's always something when I go to Queensberry shows. Matchroom occasionally, and even Boxer have their moments as well from the shows I've been to. But yeah, if we looked at a percentage of the amount of shows I go to from each one and the times that there's trouble, Queensberry are comfortably in the lead. So they really need to kind of sort that out, or try and work better with the demographic that they're trying to attract to their shows. All right, moving on to basically what took place over Saturday. Now, I haven't watched the PBC card. However, I did see the result, and I've seen the subsequent Rolly Romero, Ishmael Barroso fallouts with Tony Weeks, so I'll address that in a moment. If we go to the top rank card, which was maybe the least consequential card of the night, unfortunately, with the only decent or intriguing match on there being Jason Maloney versus Vincent Astrolabio. Maloney won the title, so he finally has become world champion at bantamweight, but he, from all intents and purposes, it sounds like he's pretty much very beatable. Now I was watching the fight, but trying to stay up and pay attention, that I was constantly in and out of sleep. So again, that's another fight I'd have to go back and watch when I've got a bit more time, especially if if we're doing the breakdown on Tuesday. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was decent. There was some heavy hands being thrown throughout rounds, so I give credit where it's due. You had Janibek Alim Khanala against who was he fighting? Stephen Butler from Canada. Yeah, Butler wasn't on the level. Constant unnecessary movement. He's got a punch, but I guess he was corked throughout pretty much the entire 2 rounds that it lasted. Got caught with a vicious uppercut during an exchange in the 2nd round. Took him to the ground. After a few more shots, like, his equilibrium was gone, and Jack Reese for some reason allowed him to carry on. I don't necessarily mind after the first time, but then when he got knocked down on the 2nd time and he wasn't even following the instructions properly, he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you one last chance. And then he gave him a last chance to get laid out. Now, to be honest, look, I can't be a hypocrite, because I like when fighters are given the opportunity to come back, and I don't have a particular need to see the fighter get laid out for the fight to be conclusive, but I do like a conclusive ending. And for that particular point, I can say Jack Reese gave me what I usually ask for, which is conclusive, that nothing else is going to happen. But given the skill levels and the skill disparity between the two of them, and the fact that his legs were... It's not like, oh, he got knocked down and then he got up, he's a bit woozy, but his legs were gone for the entire time. So ultimately, he wasn't gonna be able to come back into it, because he couldn't. He had no base, he had no foundation underneath him. But again, like I said, I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. I like when things are ended conclusively, and that was a conclusive ending after 2 rounds. We'll see what Johnny Beck does next, because ultimately the Denzel Bentley rematch isn't going to happen anytime soon. I think that Esquiva Falcao was supposed to be fighting for the vacant IBF, and he's signed to Top Rank, so I'm assuming should he win that, they can make a unification there and keep that sort of, get a unification between those two, and then potentially use that as a segue to tempt either the WBC champ, which is Charlo, into a fight, or the WBA champion, which is... Who's the WBA champion at 160? Erislandy Lara. Although I think he's got a fight with Danny Garcia at catchweight, 155 pounds. So probably, I guess they're going to do keep away politics. WBA and WBC are going to stay Showtime or thereabouts with PBC, and then the WBO and the IBF with Top Rank. So yeah, whatever, moving forward. So yeah, going back to Rolly. Now, I didn't watch any of the undercards. I said I haven't seen the event. I saw Rolly get knocked down in the 3rd round. Imagine getting given a gift fight to make you a champion on a plate and almost fumbling the bag from early. Like, he gets knocked down in the 3rd. I haven't seen the rest of the fights. I don't know how he was doing throughout the rest of it, but from all intents and purposes and everything that I've heard, he was down on the scorecards from all the judges by the time the 9th round came around. So that's not a great indictment at all. Now, I saw his knockdown of Barroso, and to be honest, I don't even think it was a knockdown. It looked more like a push. Yeah, he landed one shot, then all the other shots kind of were missing or grazing, and then it's almost like he cuffed him with the glove down towards the ground, and obviously Barroso fell down. Yeah, he got given the count by Tony Weeks. Gets up, and then he's in the corner. I think Rolly's trying to throw punches at him. He's slipping, he's missing the majority of them. He's even throwing punches back. I didn't see any of them that I saw land cleanly, and then Tony Weeks just decides to jump in and wave it off. Even on the what's his name, Brian Costa, when he was doing the replay, says, none of those was really landing. It didn't look like he was in trouble there. I'm not really sure about that stoppage, but your new champion, Rolly Romero, and from what I've seen, I haven't watched all the interviews, but even Rolly said, yeah, that was I think he could have been left to continue. He wasn't out on his feet. So I mean, look, is the fixing, is that about making sure that Rolly had the belt come hella high water and he was fumbling the bag, so we needed to get things over the line? I don't know, but what I do know is the decision itself was horrendous. again, I haven't watched the entire fight, but no one has told me that, yeah, throughout the fight, Barroso was taking a punishing beating and it was probably best for the ref to stop it there. From all intents and purposes, he was winning the majority of the fight up until that point. And even then, he wasn't taking anything clean. So, yeah, not great. Now, I don't normally talk about them in great depth. I usually leave it kind of just to a couple words here or there. But I guess the main topic of this one is going to have to be the Misfits card, because that was the only card of any relevance this week, to be totally honest with you. I didn't watch every single fight, but from what I can remember, I saw DK Money versus Varuz. That was entertaining. Southpaw versus Orthodox. Both guys got knocked down. DK Money got knocked clean out in the third round, I think it was, that took place. It was the second or the third, but it was high entertainment. Primarily, I was actually really just wanting to kind of watch it to watch Tennessee Thresh and Paige Keiki, because, you know, anyone who may know my previous backgrounds, I was kind of involved in, you know, the UK music scene for a period of time. So while like Paige is not someone that I know personally, obviously, like, I know her work and some of the people that she works with and she's around. So I was interested to see how this one works. And obviously I saw the build up through Instagram a couple months back before it got announced that they was going to fight. So it piqued my interest. I just wanted to see kind of how it was going to look. And you know what? I was entertained. That's all I can really ask for. But what it also does show is that, and I guess people say this all the time, every time someone is supposedly like a bad man or a bad gal or whatever, it doesn't mean anything when ultimately they got to step in the ring and throw hands. Because you can see, like, when technique ain't quite techniquing, or when them shots that you feel like, oh yeah, like I'll punch man up on road, I'll punch gal up on road, but all of a sudden you look in the ring and it's like, yeah, these people is taking these punches quite easily. Like, now with regards to the actual fight itself, it's mad. I was watching, right, and I need to know who developed this praying mantis style for Tennessee Fresh, because literally the way that she was fighting, like, one hand is up here and it's not even it's turned out like that, all the way up above her head probing, and the other one is down here. Like, I was literally like, and she comes in this mad crouch, like crouching forward. I'm like, who taught her this praying mantis style? Is this boxing or martial arts? I thought I was watching Snuff Bottle Collection, because that's literally what it looked like. The amount of those wushu and old films I used to watch, like the ones that are dubbed, it was just crazy. But ultimately, it was weird because there was some controversy about the scoring. A lot of people thought Tennessee Fresh won that fight. Me personally, no. I watched it, and that was the only match I actually watched all the way through closely. And no, Paige Keiki won every round for me. She landed more punches every round. Her punches, I'm not going to say they were all more impactful, but they were a lot cleaner and you could see them. Like, the only times I think people had things for Tennessee is that there was a few times where she would land something and Paige would like take a couple steps back, or like basically move away to avoid getting hit by a second one. But Paige would land like 2 or 3 punches for every one that Tennessee was landing a lot of the time, and they were all as impactful as each other. So yeah, I gave her all 3 rounds. There was an argument that Tennessee potentially could have won the second. But to me, yeah, the first and the third were definitely Paige rounds. So that was highly entertaining. Then you had Anthony Taylor and Salt Papi. Now, obviously, to me, this was like going to be like my favorite fight, because Anthony Taylor comes to bring it. He always comes to bring it. But then you've got Salt Papi, who's probably the best technical boxer they've got at Misfits, but this was the only one that they was doing 3 rounds instead of 4, which was a bit weird. Now, I guess obviously, like, Salt Papi's a very sort of patient guy. He doesn't look for openings. He doesn't go making openings. He looks for them. He waits for them. And like Anthony Taylor, basically, he had the perfect game plan. He would leap in behind the shot, catch him, tie him up, make the referee have to break them. So it's a scoring shot. It's a scoring glance. And every time that Salt Papi would go and try and connect with either the straight left or the left hook, Taylor, being the shorter guy, would just dip underneath it and jump into his chest, hold him, spin and make the ref have to break them up. It was a very good tactic. It worked for the 3 rounds. Now he was getting really tired towards the end of the third, and it looked like Saul Pappy was actually making his comeback, so to speak. So you think to yourself, oh, that if there was more rounds and even a round more, you might have actually done some damage in the fourth. But yeah, he did the 3 rounds, and Anthony Taylor got a unanimous decision victory. Salt Pappy has his first loss, but he's obviously got to come back and rebuild from that. But he's still like must see, because everyone knows that if anyone is going to deliver the goods, it's going to be him. Maybe he runs it back with Anthony Taylor, maybe he has another opponent, but I know Anthony Taylor said that he wants Slim next, so I guess we'll see what happens there. After that, I know it was Deji versus Swarms. Deji looks like he's been honing his craft for a while, because he actually looks like a boxer now when he's in the ring. Stance, movement, sort of the punch selection, the flurries that he does is dangerous, because there's several times he's trying to unleash like 6 and 7, 8 shot flurries, and he was getting caught in between that. And you know, someone who's a bit more experienced than Swarms is gonna, you know, he's gonna cause you problems. Hence why you had that 3-fight loss streak at the start of the Misfits, and obviously the semi-pro stuff and the head guard stuff before, it was all losses. But yeah, he's definitely like the most improved guy I've seen in that entire circuit. Moving forward, moving on to the main event, you had KSI versus Joe Fournier. Now in this one, I thought Fournier would cause him problems. I did think KSI would win, although I didn't think he'd actually get the knockout, to be fair. Now, first round, obviously it was very much him, but he does a lot of movement, so you can tell that he's a guy that if you either push him or you take him into later rounds, he'll tire out. Like, he'll have the energy for the one Hail Mary swing, but in order to try and set things up and the footwork and the movement, he'll gas himself out, because there's a lot of unnecessary movement. He took Joe Fournier pretty much to task in the first round. Landed the right hand on a few occasions. Fournier ate them. He was moving about. He was a bit in like sort of survival mode. But towards the end of the round, he kind of got himself into it a little bit. You know, a couple jabs, even landed the right hand of his own there. Second round, he was actually meeting KSI with the jab. He was actually working on some things. He was coming back into it a little bit. Like, KSI was still in control, but Fournier wasn't making it easy. And then lo and behold, KSI does a special where he launches an overhand right from the other side of the ring and somehow still manages to connect with his opponent. Bang. And at that point, Fournier is a wobbly, he's on Queer Street. KSI tries to sweep. I think he tries to sweep a left hook to the body, misses that. Fournier sort of lunges in to try and grab him. KSI, he's like, he pushed his arm down, he comes through, bang, he catches him with that, is the elbow, bang, straight to the jaw. Fournier like laid out on the ground. I think he does try to get up around about sort of 7 or 8, but by that time I think it's waved off. And obviously KSI wins the fight. And obviously the controversy is the fact that it wasn't the fist that caused the knockout, it was the forearm, the elbow, which is not a part of the body you're allowed to strike your opponent with. Even framing your opponent with the forearm to get them into position is actually illegal. But because it's not a strike, the referee might just tell you to, you know, hey, watch the elbow, watch the forearm. But yeah, now look, the PBA, Professional Boxing Association, apparently Fournier says he's going to put in a complaint on Monday, as opposed to what's going to happen with that. I don't know. To me, yes, it was, you know, an illegal shot that caused the knockout, so at very least that should change to a no contest for Misfits, but I doubt anything's really going to happen. Although, you know, if I was Fournier, I would definitely be campaigning for that. Actually, no, to be fair, they might have to do something, because the whole of social media and even the zone themselves put out, an elbow caught him, an elbow, you know, it was the elbow that rocked him, the elbow that stopped him. Post-fight press conferences, it's catching traction over everywhere. No doubt it will be, this video here will show as like a, you know, a caption for it also. So yeah, another day, and there was Tommy Fury was there. There was a call out between KSI and Tommy Fury, supposedly for a fight in now September or October. So Tommy Fury claiming that he wants to be a world champion and all that stuff. Well, we clearly know now that was, he's full of shit, because he's back on this influencer scene. But to be fair, most of us thought this was the lane he was going to be in anyway, because there was no championship he's going to see at any point in his career, apart from maybe the Misfits light heavyweight championship. Subsequent to that, Tommy Fury actually ended up getting into beef with Idris Virgo in the ringside. I don't know what it was over. I didn't see anything outside of that, but yeah, that would be interesting. I know there's a couple interviews that came out. I might have to watch those to see what the situation is there, but Idris ain't gonna get that fight. So yeah, he might as well just go and train with KSI and say, look, I'll give you the game plan of how to beat him if you promise me a fight with you afterwards, or something like that. That's pretty much the quickest he's going to get to that wave and sort of that scene. But yeah, look, overall, it was a slow weekend, as we kind of knew it would be. The Misfits was the highlight of the weekend, which is something that should never be said. No, I didn't purchase it, but I did have a way to watch it, and obviously I watch all the Misfits cards that are just on my DAZN subscription forthwith, and I will continue to do so, because like I said, they're entertaining. I'm quite happy to just sit down for a couple hours and watch fun and laugh at times, be genuinely intrigued at times for other things, and yeah, keep it moving. But look, for right now, I'm gonna leave it there. I got some things I need to do. So you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy your Mondays if you're watching it then. This is the weekend, been wrapped up as usual. Again, please like and subscribe and share with friends, family, colleagues, and anyone in between. I will catch you on the next video. Peace.